let's go to the pros and look at the NFL slate that we have for week 1. We'll dive into half of the week 2 slate today. We'll look at the other half tomorrow. I see we got a question in the comments from Mr. Cover. Cowboys-Vikings moneyline parlay. Would you take that? PJ, appreciate the question, Mr. Cover. Getting to that in a little bit because we are talking about the Dallas and Giants game. But first, let's talk about the game we have coming up tomorrow between the Packers and the Commanders. Green Bay, a 3.5-point favorite, and the total in the game is 48. I really like Green Bay on the money line here. I think they're a great money line parlay piece at minus 190. So, Mr. Cover, you're looking for a money line parlay team. I think Green Bay is that team. We all know what big an advantage it is for teams to play at home on these Thursday night games this short week. And Matt LaFleur has been great on a short week. Washington was awesome against the spread last year under Jaden Daniels. They covered in week 1 against the Giants. And this line, to me, feels like it should be closer to like 5.5, especially with how impressive the Packers looked in week 1 against the Lions. So because of how great Daniels is against the spread and just how great of a quarterback he is, I think Green Bay is the much more talented team with the better coach. They're at home with one of the best home field advantages in the NFL there at Lambeau. So I do like the Packers on the money line, and I'd probably lay the 3.5 with Green Bay as well. Jags are going to be at the Bengals on Sunday. Since he's a 3.5-point favorite, total in the game is 49.5. I'm staying away from this one. A lot of people probably going to come away impressed with the Jags' performance against Carolina on Sunday. I think that was more about Bryce Young and the Panthers. I told you guys I have my concerns about the Panthers going into this season. Was Bryce Young going to revert back to his old ways for what we've seen much of his career? Or was he going to look like the guy we saw the final 6-7 games of his career or of year 2 last year? And it looked like the guy who's reverting back to his old ways. So I think that was more about Carolina. The Bengals continue to struggle early season. Burrow did not look good. They should have lost that game to the Browns. You're getting the ultimate key number at 3.5. I'm probably going to stay away from Bengals and Jags. Cowboys and Giants. So we bring up this game, right? I would take the Cowboys in a money line parlay. Feels like to me they are going to win the game. I do think it's interesting, though, that Washington was a 6.5-point favorite. They closed against the Giants at home last week. And now here is Dallas as a 6-point favorite against the Giants this week. Does that feel like too much of an overcorrection? Dallas was 3.5 on the look-ahead line. Yes, they could have won that game in Philly if CeeDee Lamb catches the ball, but Jalen Carter didn't play a defensive snap. That definitely hurt the game as well. So I think maybe there is a little bit of an overreaction to maybe Dallas's performance and also maybe the Giants and some of their missed opportunities against Washington. Would probably take the Giants plus the 6, but I do like the Cowboys to win the game. I do think they're a good money line parlay piece. Another team that could be a good parlay piece this week is the Detroit Lions minus 6 against the Bears. Probably a game I end up staying away from because with Detroit, I kind of want to wait to see what happens the next couple weeks. Home against the Bears this week, at the Ravens on Monday Night Football next week. It was not a good start post-Ben Johnson era for Detroit on Sunday at Lambeau. Jared Goff did not look good. He struggled, as I kind of thought he probably would and will most of this season. And the Bears, I mean, it looked great for 2.5, 3 quarters, double-digit lead. And then the defense gets shredded in the fourth quarter. Caleb Williams misses some throws. But I think they did some nice things. And I'm not ready to make my full assessment yet on Caleb. 6 points is a lot in a divisional game, just like it is with the Giants and the Cowboys. So I probably wouldn't touch the spread. Do feel good about the Lions winning the game, though. What about the Rams? Minus 5.5 on the road in Nashville this week, taking on the Titans. If this goes back up to 6, I'd probably look at Tennessee plus the points. Rams have a big look-ahead spot next week going to Philadelphia and playing against the Eagles. And I'm sure after how that game ended, knocking them out of the playoffs last year, revenge is definitely on their mind. And Tennessee, again, is a team I'm looking to bet against the spread this season because they only covered 2 times last year. So there's value on them in the market. They barely covered last week against Denver, but they did cover. And again, Stafford banged up. Titans defense is pretty good, and I like what I saw against Cam Ward. Going up against one of the best defenses in the NFL on the road, looked pretty solid in his first start. So I lean Titans there plus the points. Definitely going with the Dolphins on the money line at minus 125 against the Patriots. The concern with Miami are they just a complete mess? Is it over? Has the team quit? Should they just already fire Mike McDaniel? But in the NFL, people talk about all the time, buy low, sell high. I mean, this is the ultimate buy low on Miami, right? Everybody that bet the Dolphins last week against the Colts, and there were a lot of them, nobody's going to want them this week against New England, especially as a favorite. Miami's the right side in the game. I think they win. I would bet the Dolphins, but there certainly is a fear that they're just a disaster and they're a train wreck waiting to happen. Saints and 49ers, I would stay away. There's so much variance in that game. We don't know if Purdy's going to play. Kittle's out. And the Saints, I mean, look, they won the yards per play battle against Arizona. They had more red zone trips than Arizona. They had a chance to tie the game late against Arizona. Saints did a lot of good things, and Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers have lost games like this in the past, especially when they're beaten up. So it's a no bet for me. I would stay away from that game. And then Bills-Jets, I kind of like the over at 46 in that one. Obviously, the Ravens offense was able to do a lot of great things against Buffalo on the ground, and that's what the Jets are going to try to do with the mobile quarterback in Fields, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, nice 1-2 punch at running back, and then Josh Allen is just awesome, obviously. So I think we could get some points in that game. The Jets could be able to do some things that the Ravens did that gave the Bills defense some issues. So over 46 Bills-Jets, I think could be a look on Sunday. But one of my favorite plays in week 2 of the NFL is going to be the Seattle Seahawks +3 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now that we've gotten a 3 with Seattle, I like this bet quite a lot. There's a great stat out there about teams in week 1 who win close games and then win close games as a favorite, and then the next week they're favored again, and you usually want to fade those teams off of big emotional wins like the Steelers had in week 1. You guys saw how much it meant to Aaron Rodgers walking off the field, pumping his fist, walking off, looking at the crowd. His teammates were all fired up. Like, that game meant a lot to Aaron Rodgers, and it meant a lot to the Steelers. So now, off all that emotion, they got to come home and they got to play a ticked-off Seattle team that let one slip away at home against San Francisco. And I've talked about this in the offseason. For whatever reason, Seattle the last couple years have just not been the team at home that we're accustomed to seeing with the Seahawks, but they're very good on the road. Last year, Seattle won 7 road games and only 3 home games. And now here we are again. Lost at home last week. I would expect them to bounce back. I think they win this game outright. Really like Seattle +3 against the Steelers. You guys know how I feel about the Browns. I talked about this earlier in the week against the Ravens. I like Cleveland +11.5 against Baltimore. 3 of the last 4 times these teams have met in Baltimore, the games have been decided by 6 points or less. The Browns always play the Ravens tough in Baltimore. They just always do. It's the same exact spot that the Ravens had to deal with from last year, where in week 1 they played the Chiefs. They lose a heartbreaker. Come back in week 2. They're double-digit favorites against the Raiders. They lose that game outright. I mean, that game meant a lot to them against Buffalo, and that is a tough pill to swallow. You do wonder if Harbaugh is losing the locker room just a little bit. It feels like the fire Harbaugh chatter is as loud as it's ever been. Going to be real interested to see how the Ravens respond, because with Flacco back in town, could you imagine if they lose that game again this week? It's going to get ugly. So a lot of pressure on the Ravens, and in a spot where they normally don't perform very well in these 1 p.m. divisional home games. I'm telling you guys, they just aren't great in these spots. I like Cleveland +11.5 against the Ravens. This one's a head scratcher, man. Broncos and Colts. I can't believe we're down to Denver -1.5 against Indianapolis, but it has been all Indy money coming in this week. The look-ahead line was Denver -3.5. I thought Broncos -2.5 was a great bet. I thought it was going back up to 3. Instead, it went down to 2, and now we're at -1.5. And if you just want to bet Denver, they're -125 on the money line. Are we really overreacting this much to what we saw out of the Colts in week 1? You guys know the Colts are my favorite bet in week 1. So I am not shocked that they won that game and beat Miami. I thought they would do that. But I was excited to bet Denver in week 2, because to me that week 1 game was all about Miami and all the issues with that team and how they looked. We're really now we're ready to apologize to Daniel Jones, and now we think that the Colts might be a competent team. I think their defense could be pretty good this season. I love the addition of Lou Anarumo to be their defensive coach. I like some of the moves that they made in the secondary. So I do think the Colts defense will be pretty solid this year. The problem is Daniel Jones goes from facing maybe the worst secondary in the NFL in Miami to now facing maybe the best secondary in the NFL in Denver. So I think it's going to be a little bit of an issue for Daniel Jones in this game. I like Denver, man, on the money line. I don't agree with this line movement. Give me the Broncos. Cardinals and Panthers is going to be a stay-away game for me. Arizona -6.5. I like the Saints plus the points against Arizona, and man, they should have covered that game last week. Arizona's laying the same number again this week. I'm staying away because I don't want to bet Kyler Murray as this big of a favorite yet again. But also, I'm just worried that the Panthers are really bad. Bryce Young, again, my concern is that quarterback that we saw those final 6-7 weeks of the season last year just wasn't going to be the guy that we saw carrying into this season. And week 1 against Jacksonville did not look good. So if Bryce Young reverts back to his old ways and he's the guy that we saw his rookie season, early part of year 2, I mean, Arizona's going to win this game by 2 touchdowns. So it is a stay away for me. Eagles-Chiefs, the big one of week 2, the Super Bowl rematch. I'm going to take Philly in this game at -115. The 2 reasons being, first one, I think there's this general thinking that the Chiefs just aren't going to go 0-2. I can't see the Chiefs going 0-2. I can't see Patrick Mahomes losing at home as a road favorite. When we get that general line of thinking, I like betting the other side. And then also, the big glaring weakness of the Eagles' defense is their other corner outside of Quinyon Mitchell. But do the Chiefs have the weapons to exploit that? It's going to be Hollywood, Juju, Tyquan Thornton, Kelsey, Noah Gray. As great as Mahomes is, I just don't know if they're going to have the weapons like Dallas did to really exploit that weakness that Philly has. So I do like the Eagles in the game. I'll take them -115. Give me Atlanta +3.5 against the Vikings. I think it's a very similar handicap to Seattle and the Steelers. Vikings and Steelers both coming off big road wins, close wins, feeling great about themselves. Vikings so fired up in that locker room for J.J. McCarthy after the win. Now you come back home, 3.5 point favorite to a team that lost at home the prior week. I'll take Atlanta +3.5. Monday Night Football, Texans and Bucks. That's probably one of the games I really don't have a strong opinion about this week. I'm going to pass on that game. And then Chargers and Raiders, Monday Night Football. Initially, I thought I'd be on the Raiders, but I kind of think it's a trap, right? Both of these teams win, look impressive in week 1. Vegas is back home, 2 good coaches. But a divisional game like this with the 3.5, it feels like they're daring you to take Vegas. I'm going to stay away. I kind of think the Chargers might be the right side in the game.